I didn't know how to stand at my sister's wedding. There are rehearsed ways to do it. Chin lifted. Polite smile, a glass of champagne balanced between two fingers like nothing trembles underneath. I tried that posture in the bathroom mirror before the ceremony. It didn't fit. When I walked into the venue and saw him at the altar, adjusting his cufflinks the way he used to before investor meetings, I felt something unexpected. Not heartbreak, recognition. He looked exactly the same as the day our divorce finalized, composed, strategic, already facing forward. My sister looked radiant beside him. She caught my eye only once before the ceremony began. There was triumph there, but also something like caution. The ceremony passed in a blur of soft lighting and curated vows. I kept my breathing even, I kept my hands folded. I reminded myself that I had already survived the worst part, the late-night messages discovered, the quiet denials, the legal negotiations conducted across long tables where no one said the word betrayal out loud. It wasn't the wedding that unsettled me, it was my parents. They beamed, they held hands, they cried proud tears, as if this union were a blessing long overdue. At the reception, after the third round of applause and a carefully edited slideshow that omitted certain years entirely, my sister took the microphone. She smiled like she'd won something. "I know this might surprise some of you," she began lightly, eyes scanning the room, but never resting on me for long. "But love finds its way. He divorced my sister just to marry me." Laughter. Gasps. Then applause. My parents clapped first. I felt the sound land on my skin like static. Just to marry me. The phrasing was intentional, romantic, simplified. I watched the room absorb the narrative. Sacrifice, destiny, inevitability. No one mentioned that the divorce papers had been filed 3 weeks after I found the messages. No one mentioned the mediation sessions where he'd insisted the business was entirely his. The business. That part sat quietly inside me, like a sealed envelope. When my name was announced for the next speech, there was a ripple in the crowd. Anticipation, curiosity, maybe even hunger. Would I cry? Storm out? Deliver a brittle joke? I stood slowly. My sister's smile held, but it tightened at the edges. I didn't take the champagne flute. I didn't look at him first. I looked at her. "I'm glad everyone could be here tonight," I began. My voice surprised me. It was steady. Not warm, not cold, just clear. I won't pretend this isn't complicated. A few nervous laughs. But relationships end for many reasons. Sometimes because love fades. Sometimes because trust does. The room shifted slightly, like a body adjusting in sleep. "When my marriage ended," I continued, "I thought I had lost everything. A partner, a future, the company we built together. There it was." A few heads turned toward him. He straightened in his chair. "What I learned," I said, "is that paperwork matters." Silence now. In the rush to move on, some documents get signed quickly. My sister's fingers tightened around the stem of her glass. Our divorce settlement included a full valuation and restructuring of the company. I insisted on transparency. I insisted on equity. I let the words settle. As of last quarter, I became majority partner. There it was, the unmistakable shift. It wasn't dramatic. No one gasped loudly. But the sound in the room changed. The applause energy evaporated. My father stopped smiling. My mother blinked twice as if she hadn't heard correctly. I continued before anyone could interrupt. The board approved a leadership review last month. Effective next quarter, there will be changes in executive roles. I finally looked at him. He didn't look angry. He looked cornered. Not publicly humiliated. Not destroyed. Just recalculating. "I'm not sharing this to disrupt tonight," I said. "I'm sharing it because narratives matter, and the truth deserves space too." My sister's face had gone pale. The confident glow she'd worn earlier had thinned into something fragile. Not shame, not quite, uncertainty. "You deserve happiness," I told her, and I meant it. But happiness built on someone else's silence isn't sustainable. There was no cruelty in my tone, no raised voice, just fact. "I was underestimated," I added softly, "by many people in this room." including myself. That landed heavier than anything else. I won't be again. I thanked the guests for their kindness. I wished the couple clarity, not forever clarity. Then I stepped away from the microphone. No applause followed immediately. That was the strangest part. The DJ cleared his throat. Someone coughed. Glassware clinked. My parents approached first. My mother's smile was gone. "Why would you do that here?" she whispered. I considered the question carefully. "Because it was already done here," I said. My father opened his mouth, then closed it. He had no script for this version of me. Across the room, my ex-husband stood very still, speaking quietly to someone from the board who had also been invited. He hadn't known they would attend. That part hadn't been accidental. Authority doesn't always arrive in uniform. Sometimes it arrives in governance documents and signatures witnessed by notaries. I didn't stay for dessert. As I walked toward the exit, I felt something unfamiliar. Not triumph. Relief. For months, I had been the discarded version of a story told for convenience. The unstable sister. The failed wife. The stepping stone. Tonight, I wasn't rewritten. Outside, the air was cool. My phone buzzed once, an email notification from the board confirming tomorrow's 9 a.m. meeting. Professional. Predictable. Real. Inside the venue, music resumed, slightly louder than before, as if volume could smooth the edges of what had just happened. Maybe their marriage will work. Maybe it won't. That isn't mine to manage. What is mine is this: I was betrayed. I was quiet. I learned. And when I stood up, no one could applaud over the sound of a contract already in motion. I didn't win anything. I just stopped losing.